There was a study published in the Journal of Black Studies, and it indicates that a large percentage of waiters discriminate against black patrons. Okay, so this was a survey of 200 waiters, all of which live in North Carolina. So already, you know, there are some limitations to this study. But according to the 200 waiters, 40% of them said, yes, we do treat black patrons differently because they're either picky, demanding, or rude.
All right, so this is an interesting controversy, and that seems to be the word of the day. And now, normally you might say, okay, all right, racism, terrible, et cetera, but we've discussed this issue before, and Jayar tells me that it's okay to be racist against blacks at restaurants.
What?
So, no, go ahead, Jayar. Tell me why the waiters are acting rationally.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Remember when we had the Louis C.K. Discussion, and he had done the skit where the question was whether is it racist or not to expect lower tips from blacks and customers, and so to give them better service or not, yada yada. And I thought, whoa, is that a thing? I didn't know that was a thing. And then you told me, yeah, that's totally a thing. Blacks don't tip.
What?
That's totally a stereotype, I probably told you. Yeah, that's totally a thing that people think black folks don't tip. I know this is one of the things that I'm always like, well, I don't know if it comes off that way or whatever, but I make sure I tip well, and because I know that it's a stereotype. But also, I guess I'm amazed from the beginning that this is a story.
If you told the average American, hey, you know, do you think that waiters are racist against black people more than white people, whatever, or treat them worse than white people? I bet you 9 out of 10 would go, oh, here you go again with the race issue. Of course not. They would say, of course not. You're bringing up the race issue again, and you're making this a racial thing.
Right, because people think that we've dominated the race issue, and whether it's the mainstream media, whether it's like, you know, prominent people who speak out in the media, it's always the same message. Deny that racism exists, brush it under the rug, let's move on.
But so do you think, JR, let me put it to you this way, do you think black folks on average tip as well as white folks?
I don't know. I usually don't look at folks' tips, but the only thing I do know is that when there's groups of people, that's when it gets really bad. I don't care what race it is. Yeah. When there's a whole bunch of people, which is why I don't go to birthday dinners. I'm sorry, let's go off this tangent. I hate birthday dinners. It's the worst creation of all time. Some of my best friends are like, oh, we're going to birthday dinner. I was like, call me afterwards, because I'm not coming to your birthday dinner. I'm just not going to do it.
Okay, well, at least we found out that it's okay to stereotype blacks on birthday dinners. Okay, don't invite them. They don't like it. Okay. No. All right, so Iadarola, I think I talked to somebody who was a waiter or waitress. Were you a waiter at all?
Yeah, I was a waiter for years, actually, both during college and after. I've worked at multiple restaurants, different parts of the country. I've worked with probably a couple hundred waiters, and I can confirm that they definitely do see African-American tables differently. Now, I don't know that they actually treat them differently, but the expectation is extremely low in terms of tips.
And so the stereotype does exist, right? The waiters do treat blacks worse. Now, you know what would be an interesting experiment? If they treated them better and see if they got better tips.
Right, absolutely.
Right? It's whether it's justified or not, and some people, because of their experience, might think that in some ways that it's overall, general, macro picture, justified, yada, yada, or maybe specifically justified in certain cases. It is another way that blacks get screwed in the country. Now, Iadarola apparently has a more controversial point. He didn't want to make it. In the corner, Steve-O convinced him and berated him until he's going to make it. So, all right, go ahead.
I don't know if this is super controversial, but in my experience, there's no better tipper than a group of gay men out eating together, drinking wine. And I will say this, and I don't believe this is just me. Almost every male tipper I know does this. If you approach a group that's clearly a bunch of gay males, you will begin to act extremely gay to get a better tip.
Oh, that's awesome. That was the best part of the story. All right, first of all, okay, I have a confession. I could totally see myself doing that. Yeah. I've never done it. I've never been a waiter. But I know the minute I step off a plane in the South, I start talking a little bit more like this. Okay, I'm unbearable. I'm like one of those greasy politicians, right? So like, if it turns out gay guys are great tippers, and you know me, I like money, right? So I'm like, oh, stop it, come on. Okay. Oh, you did not just order the trout. Okay, did he just do that? Did he just order the trout? Oh my God. All right, go ahead. Okay, I'd work it, man. I'd own it.
You know,
loosen up a couple of buttons.
Okay,
On the
so
legendary chest.
all right, so I actually agree with what Iadarola said because I know someone who sells cars and he does the same thing while he's working a deal.
Oh,
Right?
really?
Yeah, like, and it always works.
I know she knows someone. Anyway, that someone just just sold his last car out from underneath a bus.